Hello there, my name's Matt, and in this video, hopefully, I can help you to improve your English. So today we're going to talk about families, and what I want to help you with is moving your English from a beginner or intermediate level to a more advanced level of English where you can introduce and describe your family in at least 4 different ways. So, often, socially, we are required. That means we need to introduce and describe our families. At work or when you meet people, they might say, "Oh, tell me about your family," or "You have a nice family. Tell me about them." When we go out, when we go to somewhere socially, we might like to introduce our families. So, the purpose of this video is to give you more ways to talk about your family rather than just saying, "In my family there are," or "In my family we have." Okay? We are building our language skills. So, it's very important to note, so let's stop for a minute and focus on what does family mean in English. So, when we talk about family, we could be talking about our nuclear or immediate family. That means the people that we live with. So if you have your own family, a wife or husband, and children, that's your nuclear or immediate family. If you are younger, then your immediate family is your parents and your siblings. That means your brother or sister, if you have them. When we talk about all of our other relatives, we are talking about our extended family. So our extended family means all of the people related to us. So, when we're practicing English, the best ways are ways that help us to focus, to concentrate on a small amount of language that we are trying to improve. Today, I'm going to show you 4 ways or techniques to help you to talk about your families, to introduce and describe your families. But these can all be used together. They're not independent. We are separating them to help you practice. Okay? Ultimately, in the end, we should be able to use all of these to introduce our family. So let's begin and start to look at these techniques, which are number and position, comparison, job position or occupation, and terms of endearment, which I will explain shortly. Number 1 is number and position. So this means by number is the number of people in the family. And position, generally, normally, when we describe our families, we begin with the oldest, the most senior, the most respected person or people first. So that could be the parents or the grandparents. This way, this technique is particularly useful for people with large families, with many children. So let's look at an example. There are 8 people in my family. First, the most important person is my mother. Sadly, unfortunately, my father has passed away. My parents had 7 children. Notice the use of the past tense here. This means My mother gave birth to 7 children, but my father is no longer with us. And it is possible for children to have problems and to die as well. So the tense could be, my parents have 7 children, or it could be that somebody has passed away as well. Sadly, unfortunately. So after we've introduced the parents, we can talk about the children. So the eldest is my brother John, or my sister Rebecca, and he is a banker, or he is the most responsible. The second child is Stephen, and he is or has been always the naughtiest. In the middle, we have Sam, Jane, and Tony. Okay, these are the middle children. Finally, we have the youngest. Could be 2 young boys. It could be the youngest, the little baby brother, who is only 10, 15, 20, or 30 years old. So a key point here, something that's very important to note, when we are talking about age in English, the age in years could be a countable noun. So it could be 35 years old. This is a countable noun here, years. So it is 35 years old. He is only 35 years old. Or if we are describing a person and their age as an adjective, we would say a 35-year-old person. Sorry, my mouse. A 35-year-old person. A 35-year-old person without the S. So that's important to note. A lot of people make mistakes in writing, in speaking, especially in tests like the IELTS, PTE, TOEFL. Many people have problems with this. So just remember, there are nouns. Years can mean nouns, or it can be used as an adjective as well. Okay, technique or way number 2 to describe our family is by comparison. This means that we compare members in our family. We compare the different people in our family. So let's look at the example first. In my family, the happiest person is my father, because he's always smiling and joking. My mother, however, is more serious than my father, and she is also more patient. My sister is definitely the hardest worker and also the busiest out of the children. My younger brother is most certainly the tallest, and he also eats the most amongst the children. So there's some very important language points here, beginning with comparatives and superlatives. When we use adjectives to compare people, we use comparatives. So these are the words with more or happier. My sister is happier than my brother. My sister is more beautiful than my mother. Okay, that sounds a bit rude, but that's something we could say. So more serious, happier, bigger, smaller. We also use the superlatives. The busiest, the happiest, the tallest. So when we think about superlatives, I want you to think about Superman. He's the strongest, the fastest, the most amazing. He is Superman. So this means number 1, the best, the biggest. Now also look, I'm adding other words into my sentences. He is always, we're using time references. I'm using contrast. However, I'm making my language stronger through adverbs and the adjectives as well. Definitely, most certainly. And because we don't always want to say in my family, we might also say out of the group of children or amongst the children. Okay, there are many different ways to describe the people in your family. Okay, number 3. Technique number 3 is when we talk about our family members and we describe them by saying what they do. So what is their position or occupation? So here's an easy example. My father was a businessman. Now people could be interested. They might ask you, oh, what business did he do? Or what business was he in? And my mother was an accountant. So we can say the person's position. Okay, was a businessman, was an accountant. My eldest brother works as. We can also say somebody works as a teacher, as a sales representative, as the CEO. And my second brother is a sales representative. My uncle has done very well. So now I'm talking about my extended family. I'm talking about the most successful person. So my uncle has done very well as the CEO of a major international company. So we can talk about their jobs and we can talk about their position in the world. If we have children, we can talk about their position or their stage of life at school. So my daughter is in high school, or my youngest child has just started preschool or kindergarten. Now, the last term, which I'll need to explain, or the last technique, is when we talk about our family, we use words, nicknames that show love or humour towards our family. So these we can call terms of endearment. So look at the word dear, like darling, like my love. Terms of endearment. So here are some examples. In my family, so this is a woman. In my family, there is my darling hubby. Okay, that's short for husband. My darling hubby means my darling husband. And my 2 little sweethearts. Now sometimes we use humour. We joke about our family. The first is my little angel. Now notice she laughs. She says the first is my little angel. Who is my son Kevin. And he is definitely not an angel. That means he's a busy or naughty little boy. Next, we have our youngest daughter, Jane. We call her Peaches because she has bright red cheeks and is very sweet. So we can call our children after anything. They could be a little rabbit, a little fox, a little monkey, any of these sorts of words. We can describe them using other real-world things. Okay? Now, a husband might also talk about his family and say, in my house there is the boss. So that's a joke about his wife. And my twin girls, who I call Crash and Bang. So here, this person has called their twin girls Crash and Bang because they're noisy. Crash, bang. They make a lot of noise. They're very busy, active young girls. Now they could be called Double Trouble because they're twins. We can have many, many different names that we call our children. So these terms of endearment or terms of affection are words that show our love or humour towards a member of our family. We can think of them as family nicknames. Okay, so these are the 4 techniques. So that means when you practice, Watching this video is